In this video, I'm looking at pro cameras on a budget. Do I go for a used OM1 or a used G9? Join me and find out. Roll titles. Hi YouTube, Brian James, that Micro Four Thirds guy with you once again from not so sunny Cornwall. Still down here for a couple of days before we go off to Dorset. But I've been having an online conversation with one of my subscribers, and this person's upgrading, or wanting to upgrade from a Lumix G85, has a lot of Panasonic lenses, and is asking whether I would recommend looking towards an EM1 Mark II or 3, or maybe a used Lumix G9, or does he go up to the G9 Mark II? Well, hopefully I'm going to try and answer that with my opinion on this. Now, I'm not going to go into all the detailed specs and things on the cameras. I'm going to be, you know, you can look those up if you want to, and you can go and look at all the other reviews as to tell you why in detail you want it. But this is my personal choice because I own an EM1 Mark II, and I also own a G9. And to tell you the truth, I'm really happy with them both. I've told you a little when I've had some problems with them in the past on various videos. So if you do want to see the problems I've had, have a look through my back catalogue. But the general thing is, with both of these cameras, these are both pro level cameras in the Micro Four Thirds range. Top of the game when they came out. And to tell you the truth, although they are now superseded models, or at least this will be, well, it is sort of, the G9 Mark II is going to be released properly on the market about November, which is next month, but effectively it's a superseded model. And this is an EM1 Mark II, so it's been superseded twice by the Mark III and the OM1. But they are still pro level cameras. They don't diminish when a new one comes out. They've still got all the pro features they had on the day they were released. In fact, in both cases, because they've been firmware updated, they've got more features. So I'm going to let you see these. Quick little thing for the thumbnail. That'll do for later. I'm going to put them down and come back to you in a second. Now, so what's my thoughts on this? Well, the spec that I had from the conversation was basically the guy who I've been talking to has a G85 and is happy with it at the moment. Has quite a few Panasonic lenses already in the arsenal, is used to the controls on the Panasonic that he's got and likes the layout of it and likes the layout of the menus. Doing all sorts of things, but mainly landscape, a little bit of nature photography, the general sort of things, nothing of too much of the extremes. And I started thinking about it. And what the question was is which one I would prefer to recommend for this person for stills. I'll come back to video shortly for stills. So keep watching if you want to see what I think about video. So do I think about stills on this? I'll be honest, I own both. I can't tell you which one's best. I really can't. I've got magnificent results from both. If you watch above, you'll find that I did some stuff with surfboarders with a long lens, and some of those were quite difficult for the autofocus to pick up on, but it did a magnificent job on the G9. I've got some fantastic results out of the EM1 Mark II as well. And when I first bought this, I actually bought my G9 brand new. Came with it on one of the special deals, came with a battery grip and all sorts of things. And I chose that in preference to the EM1 Mark II, which was the current camera at the time, because the EM1 Mark II was a bit more expensive and didn't seem to give me any more features. A little while later I hankered for the EM1 Mark II, but the EM1 Mark III had came out in this time, and I didn't really fancy going for the EM1 Mark III because there wasn't a big enough change in it. It was an EM1 Mark II as far as I was concerned, with a few nice extra features but not enough to really tempt me. So I went for an EM1 Mark II used, and that gave me the opportunity to actually to compare them. And I did a video. I'll stick a link up there to the video when I first got them as to my thoughts at the time. But now I've had a couple of years down the line of using the cameras and abusing the cameras and trying different lenses on them and trying different combinations and go out and doing lots of styles of photography. And I will be honest, I can't really put much of a difference between them. As a still camera, for somebody who's wanting to up their game and get to the professional level of camera in the Micro Four Thirds range, I can't recommend any higher than either the EM1 or the G9. And when I'm saying the EM1, I'm on about the Mark II or Mark III. So Basically, I would be happy with any of the three of those cameras for taking still photos. But there's a few other things come into it. Yes, the Olympuses do have phase detect autofocus, whereas the Lumix doesn't. It has the depth from defocus, and that gets a bit of a slagging off. But if you look at those surfing videos that I did, those surfing photographs, a lot of those were putting the focus into some quite nasty positions, and the camera was handling it. But I think when you're getting onto those, you're going to the real esoteric specialist side of people who are doing either high-speed sports or birding at distances, you know, where you've got something particularly fast-moving and particularly awkward to handle. 99% of photographic situations, I think you're going to be perfectly okay with either. The general thing with the cameras, though, they have a certain feel. They have a certain feel and a certain aura about them. And if you're used to the Lumix, then the Lumix is going to just fit nicely into your hand when you get an upgrade on that. If you're used to the Olympus, then again, the new Olympus is going to fit just nicely in the hand. And it's whatever you're used to. Not necessarily what's better, but what's better for you. Yes, I do prefer the Lumix menus, but to tell you the truth, by the time you've spent 5 minutes with the Olympus menus, you've got your head around that as well. One of the things which was asked about was the lenses which the guy already has, and he said if he went to Olympus, would he have to consider changing his lenses over time to go to the Olympus? Well, the beauty of Micro Four Thirds is that there's a common platform, and in theory it should give you the ability to change lenses between the two brands, which it does. However, if you've watched this channel for a little while, you'll know that it doesn't always allow you to do the best with it. Yes, you can switch between them, but I've had problems, if you remember, with the 25mm f1.7 insofar as focusing speed and focusing accuracy when used on the Olympus, and it doesn't seem to perform badly on the G9. And what I do seem to have seen, I seem to have more problems putting Lumix lenses onto Olympus than Olympus lenses onto Lumix. I seem to have had more problem on that. So to be honest, if I was recommending something for these cameras, if you've already got a whole load of Lumix lenses, and you're already used to the Lumix cameras, I'd probably go for the G9. If I already had a whole load of Olympus lenses and I was used to Olympus cameras, I'd stick with the Olympus and I would go for the EM1 Mark III probably, because it's good value for money, and for the differences between the 2 and 3 now, I think the 3 is a better camera, but not much. That's stills. What else would I be putting into the mix on this one? Well, really, there is a third option, and that is to go for new, either the OM1 from Olympus, or wait a couple of weeks and get the G9 Mark II. And that puts me in a quandary. And if you watch one of my videos a little bit earlier, which in fact both videos, I've said why I wouldn't buy an OM1 and why I wasn't going to be buying the G9 Mark II, and I stand by both of those. For the price of a used G9 Mark I or an EM1 Mark III, they're half the price of what you're going to be buying the new camera for, and they are a huge amount more than half the facilities. They are so close in fact, unless you want to go to the extremes or you want to use some of the really esoteric features in the new one. So long as you keep the firmwares updated, these cameras will go on for a long time. And if you're buying a used camera from the likes of the MPBs of the world or a really good camera dealer, you can buy it as a new camera with a 6-month warranty from them for less than half the price of a new camera. Even with the deals going on, less than half the price of that. And these cameras will go on for years and years. They don't, as I say, stop being professional cameras just because the new one comes out. This camera that I'm using, the G9 or the EM1 Mark II, are just as professional as the day I bought them. Yes, the new one's going to have a slightly increased megapixel count. It's going to have 20% more megapixels. It's not a great deal. And if you saw on again on the surfing photos that I took the other day, I was cropping in like you wouldn't believe on a 20 megapixel sensor, getting some fantastic results without graininess, without it running out of resolution. So even 20 megapixels, you can do all sorts of things. The stacked sensor on the OM1, yeah, it's going to give you some advantages, but it's not going to be the huge advantages over the EM1 Mark III or Mark II. If you keep the firmwares updated, you've got some fantastic camera there, because, well, I've said this before, on both the Olympus and the Lumix cameras, getting the firmwares updated was almost like getting a new camera halfway through the production run without having to change anything else. So my advice for stills, would still be, as for this person who's there and for anybody else, I would say my perfect camera of the two depends on what I've already got facilities wise insofar as lenses. If I'm a Lumix user, I'd go for the G9 Mark 1. If I was an Olympus user, I'd go for the EM1 Mark 2, but preferably the EM1 Mark 3. Or even an EM5 Mark 3. It's a thought. Very, very good. However, all that money I'm saving, that half price compared to the new one, I could buy myself a very fancy lens, a really good lens to fill that gap if I've got any gaps in my lenses. So I've got even more usage out of it than I would have otherwise. So that would be my thing. And what I've said to this person who's got the G85 and the Lumix lenses, go for the G9 Mark 1 from a good dealer with a warranty in a like new condition. Because somebody else then has had the hit on all the devaluation, all the depreciation in the camera. They've had to pay that. You haven't. So even if you sold that camera almost straight away, your depreciation is considerably less. So that's stills. What about video? What about video? To me, again, it comes into the lenses. If you've got a whole load of Olympus lenses, go for the Olympus. However, as a pure video camera, the G9 Mark 1 is fabulous, especially if you go to the latest firmwares. After firmware version 2, there was a huge jump in what I could do video-wise, and it was really challenging the GH5 at the time. We're up to version 2.7, I think, on the firmware on the Lumix, and about version 2.6 on the Olympus. Don't quote me on those. That's what I'm trying to remember from out of my head. But on both of those, they've really made big strides on the cameras. But if I was starting afresh with no lenses, I think I'd go for the G9 for video. So what about you? Have you considered going to a professional level of camera? And are you going to be going for the brand new ones? Or would you be going used? Are you upgrading your cameras and looking to what you can get for the next step up? Because it is a noticeable step when you get to the professional cameras rather than the middle of the range ones. You get magnesium bodies, you're getting some really good facilities, everything's there. You've got all the bits and pieces insofar as custom modes. You've got all the features which are available on that brand in that box. So it is a really good upgrade if you're going from the mid-range or entry-level Micro Four Thirds camera. Video-wise, G9 Mark 1. Stills-wise, G9 just, but it depends on the lenses you've got. However, hope you've found this useful, and thank you very much for the subscriber who has asked me that, because it's really given me food for thought, and I thought it was worthwhile bringing this video. Now before I move on, thank you to these wonderful people here. These are my Patreon patrons who I keep on mentioning. And also, if you do want to become a Patreon patron, your first part is free now. They've changed Patreon slightly, so if you do actually want to try out the Patreon channel, you can subscribe, and the first remaining part of the month until the first payment you get free. And that's wonderful, so you can actually give it a try before you buy. That's great. The other thing is as well, if you do want to give me a one-off support on the channel, there is a PayPal link if you'd like to buy me a coffee, which goes towards paying for the channel. I actually do drink an awful lot of coffee, and yeah, it's needed. My coffee bill is probably bigger than the cost it does for this channel, but we'll not go down that. And also, if you'd like to press a super thanks instead and put through YouTube, you're more than welcome to hit that button below. You've got all the likes and subscribes, and I've got a problem coming, because I wanted to do a special video for my 10,000th subscriber. When I hit 10,000 subscribers, I wanted to do a special video. When I said that, I had 9,000 subscribers. But because of the viral video I had last week about the sycamore tree, I've now got over 500 subscribers this month. So I'm going to have to get my socks up, pull my socks up and get a video done for my 10,000 subscribers. So if I don't quite get it in time, it will be coming. But until the next time, keep on taking your camera out, whether it be a Lumix, whether it be an Olympus, whether it be any brand, take your camera out, keep on having fun with your photography, because photography is fun. See ya. Bye-bye.